I'm here with Hans Rasmussen and Tyler Bedell. Everyone, welcome. Say hi in the chat for us. Um, Talk about all kinds of ways to be community online. Let's. I'll ask Hans maybe to lead us in a quick prayer before we start.
Amen. God, we are super grateful that we could be all gathered here together with this gift of technology, and I'm thankful for each and every person on this conference who just has a heart to share the gospel and make disciples. And God, I just pray that you would really help us to be able to communicate clearly and just be a great team. God, help us be the church that you've called us to be, to help each other and to really guide and be directed by you and your Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Well, we're very, very excited to share these insights and know-hows and anything that can equip you for this. I just wanted to start. Hans will take over after this, and we have a few things on our agenda, so we'll try to roll through this as concisely as possible, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. So let's start with sort of the spiritual bedrock for this. What really inspires me is the understanding that the world is in the midst of perhaps the most globalized crisis. It's not the worst crisis, but it's definitely the most globalized crisis, definitely in our lifetime. I mean, literally, the world is paralyzed worldwide. There's this massive sense of uncertainty, and the amazing opportunity for all of us here attending this and influencing the church is that leadership is basically, how do you respond to uncertainty? Leadership is about that one person in the room who seems to know what they're doing, even though they probably don't know what they're doing, but at least they're leaning into the uncertainty. So what I want to encourage you with is this. If you are uncertain, be confident in the uncertainty and do something. A couple of things that we can draw from the New Testament and the story of the early church is that technology was a central feature in the spread of the early church. Now, most people wouldn't even understand how that is, but the truth is there was an information revolution going on, and God, in His providence, planted and started the church during that time. What is the technology that they were using? Well, it was the Roman roads. That was a technological evolution. It connected a vast territory with tens of thousands of miles of good roads that were controlled by the same empire. Peace was, relatively speaking, maintained. So people started traveling, exchanging information. People started influencing each other spiritually in ways that were completely unprecedented before that in history. Now, technology, as you probably understand, is neutral. So there's a technology available to the first Christians, to the apostles. They could have just not used it. And what happened is that they did use it, and they used the Roman roads, and they traveled. And because of their use of proactive, engaging use of technology, we are here today. If they didn't leave Jerusalem and Judea, we wouldn't be sitting here today talking about this. So they use technology proactively. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is culture. Cultural flexibility was the centerpiece of the mission life of the Apostle Paul. You probably all know the scripture about being all things to all men. That is a cultural flexibility statement. And the reason for that is that Paul wanted to reach as many as possible. So obviously there are always people in any given church and movement who are more engaged in technology and less engaged in technology, people who are resenting the shifting culture and then embracing the shift of culture. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to imitate the apostles. If we want to imitate the apostles, you will be culturally flexible. And as things evolve very, very quickly, you will embrace these changes, these cultural changes, so that you can win as many as possible. So to me, in my journey, This is sort of the bedrock of why I embrace technology, why I embrace changing culture to win as many as possible. Hans.
Man.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Christian. I think you did a great job sharing that. In the chat yesterday, one of the questions was, how do I help my minister who doesn't want us to be online? And I think they said, like, what's a good scripture for that? And I instantly thought of Acts 8:29, where the Spirit tells Philip, go near that chariot, go run over to the chariot and stay near it. And I just go, where are people right now? They're online. They're not meeting at the mall. They're not meeting at the gym. They're not meeting where they normally are. And so I think we need to follow the Spirit and run to where the people are. We need to run to where those people are online. And, so a lot of people, what platform should we be on? Well, you should go to the platforms where your friends are or the people that you can reach out to and really, help them. And so I think we have this great opportunity to reach out and to meet needs. One of the ways that we did that here in Denver is rather than just focusing on, hey, let's have spiritual things, just spiritual things. I made this caremongering website that is ultimately on Facebook, just a caremongering group, because all the fear mongering that's going on, made this caremongering group, sent people there. So if there's needs or there's announcements, and it's so cool being able to see the community engagement in that people are jumping in and they're helping and they're being there meeting needs. And the great part is that the church is the one really rising up. As there's needs, there's people that jump on there and take care of those things almost instantly. It's been super encouraging. So Tyler, what are some of the thoughts that you have on kind of overall things to think about as we're operating online?
Yeah, and I just posted the link to that caremongering in the chat, so if you're interested in checking that out. I think I kind of mentioned it yesterday, but some of you guys weren't on that session, and I just believe that God really desires our excellence in all of these things. I think the scriptural thoughts from Christian and Hans are just so valid, so solid. And I think if we're able to kind of look at the Old Testament and go, man, God really desired his people to use their skills in the most excellent way possible. And, certain people were singers, certain people were working on the temple, certain people were on the front lines and musicians and all these things. And it's amazing to see that God wanted certain people in certain positions, and us here, God is called to rise up in these ways. And the times, the crisis, I think it's a time where God's church can really rise up to a new challenge, to a new vision, and make a powerful difference. And so I just believe that God really deserves the best that we can give, the best of our talents, the best of our technologies, the best of society. Anything that we can give him, we should give him our absolute best to glorify God.
I think that was really well said, Tyler. And we'll talk a little bit of how do you balance excellence with what you have in a little bit. But we're going to just jump into some functionality of operating online. And so lots of people go, what do we do and how do we do it? One of the things that we talked about is, having virtual small groups. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that. You can use Zoom, you can use Facebook Messenger, Google Meets, whatever you want to do. It really doesn't make any difference. But I think making sure that you're using something to help people connect. You don't want to just have that 1 hour a week. There's 168 hours in a week. If we only go 1 hour, that's our streaming service, you're going to miss all these different times for connection. And so one of the things we did is taught all of our small group leaders here in Denver, here's how you use Zoom. I did a little teaching. I think Tyler's going to throw the link up in the chat for anybody that wants that. And we will provide all of these links and kind of our overall notes after the fact. We're going to throw up a link. Christian's going to show up, give us some a website we can log into after this and get some of that information. And so there's lots of different things we can do, but one of the things, if you don't have a website already, man, you really need one. And you need a website that can be updated on the fly as much as it needs. And that's where Christian and his partnership with Third Drive, I think, is a great place. And if you stay till the end, we've got a giveaway there for from Third Drive. But Christian's going to talk a little bit about virtual shepherding and virtual small groups.
Yeah, Hans, thank you. So, so a little bit about me. If you don't know who I am, I lead a church here called Tribe. It's part of Austin Christian. We have 3 community churches here in Austin, and we planted Tribe about 6 years ago, and it grew really, really well. And we actually planted another church just a couple of weeks ago. And part of the reason I think where we just got more people to come to service was our internet, sort of a robust media strategy. Basically, that's probably the better word. And a lot of it was provided by a company I also lead called Third Drive, and we do a few things. But one of the things that we started doing after we saw the success in Tribe is to roll out websites and media strategy in general. So it's print, video, branding, the whole sort of 360 of what a church needs for churches. One of the things that we rolled out as a response to this crisis is virtual church ready websites. So we literally rolled out 2 templates. I think we're going to have 3 church templates that are available, that are virtual church templates. Now, I want to see if I can share my screen and show you a couple of things. Okay, so here is what I'm doing. I'm clicking on the thing. I think we've done it before and it worked really well, but now we'll see if I can do it. So, can you see my screen? Probably not. Okay, so, this is not it. How do I do it, Hans? Tyler, you showed me
click
how
the
to do
third
this.
icon, and then it'll ask you what you want to share, and then you can share that, and then click on your video icon again to show your video again.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
So I think that's mine, but it's up there, and you can talk through it, and I'll scroll as you talk. How's that?
Yeah. Okay. So if you
just click your video button again.
Okay, I will. Thank you, guys. Hans, if you can scroll down a little bit further to the virtual shepherding module. That's one thing that I really love about some of the things that you could do. And this is all integrated with third-party existing platforms that help you schedule things and connect virtually. So we have now on the Austin website, austinchristian.org, if you want to check, or you want to just go to the templates. We have the section where we ask the question: do you need counsel, prayer, or want to set up a Bible study? This is it right there. And basically, what it does, it gives us the name of the leader. You can click on that link below and schedule a call. So on the receiving end, our shepherding team can set up the hours that are available and all of the relevant links, phone numbers, Zoom link, etc. And then whoever schedules a time with you, they will see it on the calendar, you will see it on your calendar, and it's very efficient, it's very helpful. I think especially now in times of crisis where there's a lot of fear, anxiety, we need to know that our shepherds are available, that they're on the front lines with us. And this is one of the ways that we ensure that in our church, and also we make that available on the virtual church ready websites that we developed. If you go a little bit lower on the Hans, there's a video player that we have also, and that's the functionality of that. That I think it's really important and helpful is that one of the downsides as a preacher, right? As a teacher of what I do is that if it's not recorded somewhere and then categorized and stored, it doesn't, I might have a good insight. Maybe some of the times I'm glad no one recorded what I said, but sometimes you do want to record something that you said. And this player allows you to basically categorize your video lessons. It could be devos, workshops, things like that. And then it stays in one place, and you can use it to teach people how to, for example, study first principles, membership studies, things like that. It could be parenting. Sermons are usually in a separate space, but this is really a store all in one place. If you go to the virtual small groups tab, Hans, what you'll see is we want to not allow people to see that they can, not only can they influence, but this is the prime time for you to influence people who are seeking God. We start seeking God reactively most of the time. I became a Christian 25 years ago, and I became a Christian because my life circumstances squeezed me enough for me to know that I'm not in control. That is true of most people. I mean, some of us here are the spiritual ones who just proactively seek God and they don't feel any pain or suffering and inadequacy. I'm not one of those people. I think most people feel the squeeze and they want to be reached. Right now is the time to do it. Right now, it's not a time for the church to shrink, but to make disciples.
Yeah.
So on this website, we have a map of all the small groups in a certain area, and you can click that map and see the name of the leader, the contact information, and then those small groups who choose to do a public-facing Bible talk, essentially, you can see the name of the person, the Zoom link, and the day and the time. So that collected in one place, it's incredibly powerful and helpful. So these are some of the stuff, and we're adding features all the time. These are some of the things that we do to help churches find all of that functionality pre-wired into a website, so you don't have to go through the painful work that we went through while we were putting it together. It's just done for you. You can incorporate it into an existing site. You can just get a template just like this one. But I just wanted to show you just what is possible in a time of complete, coronavirus paralysis. This is the time to unleash the church, not to shrink and sort of be terrified of the virus. This is a time to go and make disciples.
That's great.
Tyler, right. I think you're next.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk through right now media, online giving, all that stuff. Hans, is that something that you were going to touch on, or should I just move on?
I think you can probably just move on.
Okay, yeah. So, and this is not particularly a live streaming session. However, we can't talk about online church without actually talking about live streaming or producing a service and sending it online, which is kind of where a lot of us are at right now with stay-at-home orders. So a common question right now is like live streaming versus pre-recorded. What's the best platform to do all this with? And I think it really depends on you. It depends on your church. It depends on your strengths and where you're at. I know some churches right now don't have a stay-at-home order. They can meet in groups if it's less than 10, and that's great. If you can produce the service live, I think there's benefits to that. There's the connection. There's the you can interact with your with the worship team a little more on stage. But I think probably for the vast majority of us right now in this moment, I think recording a service, having people send parts together and putting together in like a video editor and being able to upload it and send it online for a simulated live or a Facebook premiere is going to be our best option. That's going to be the most solid way to get our good content out there, because the reality is our churches and churches around the world are so good at connecting with people when we're in person, when we're face to face, and when we can give a hug and say hello. But we can't do that right now. So we have to fill in those gaps. We have to bridge that gap and be able to meet people where they're at, as was already talked about. And so where are your people is the question. And if you're a smaller church, probably a lot of your people are on Facebook, and we want to focus just on that. And I go, there's a kind of a priority of needs that we got to go through, because when you look at your needs, first is we have to be good shepherds, right? We're ministers. We're people who are trying to keep the flock together in this time of trial. And it's an easy time for people to kind of scatter, for Satan to come in and go, ooh, there's one that went off by himself. but we can be that bridge. We can be those shepherds to bring people in. And so that's our first priority, is we have to shepherd our people and go, that's first. And then we can think about kind of the other aspects of how do we reach the lost in these times? How do we reach people that need to hear about this? And I think when we're shepherding our people well, they're going to be excited about what's going on. They're going to be able to share it with the people around. And then after that, then we can start thinking about, okay, I want to make this something that reaches the masses. I want to start thinking about something that's going to go viral on the internet. And it's been cool to see what God has done here in Denver over the past several years of using our live stream, our online church, our Google AdWords, our SEO on our website. All these things reach people, and we have people come every single week from our online presence. And so all of these things are so important. And so if you're a mid-sized church, maybe you go to a few different platforms to be able to meet more of those people. We go, I'm here in our sanctuary. This is our tech booth right here. We send to live stream YouTube and Facebook at the same time, and we embed our YouTube into Church Online. If you don't have a Church Online platform account, I encourage you to do that today, as soon as possible. Do it, because it's the best free resource to kind of make an all immersive experience for a Sunday service. People can come in and chat before the service starts, and the feedback we've gotten from that is that, man, I feel like I just walked into a church service. I just feel like I walked in and I felt so welcomed. I'm coming back. And that's like exactly the response that we want from this. And so I think, Hans, if you could post a link to that Church Online so people can get that if they need. So that's kind of what we do. We use Living as One as a live stream. It helps with our internet. But honestly, right now, I would say focus on getting a good quality and homey feel for your services pre-recorded, and go through Facebook Premiere. That's going to be your best option. Just make sure you look into all the practicals and specifics of what they require. There's minimum requirements and there's maximum requirements for that. You don't want to exceed any of those limits. And that's like a lot. There's going to be another live streaming session after this, but that we can talk more. But I just wanted to give kind of a general idea of where you could be. Those are kind of the best popular options where people are going to already be, that you can meet people where they're at. And Hans, I'm going to pass it to you to talk about investing a little bit.
Yeah, great job, Tyler. One of the things I think as a minister, you have to, I guess wherever place you are, if you're in a leadership role in your church, you have to invest in this kind of stuff. If there is no line item in your budget for technology and online ministry, you don't value it. It's not important to you, and it's not important to your church. And so you just got to be honest about that and go, we're going to have to invest in this. We're going to have to spend some money. We're going to have to help it move forward. And so, here in our church, we kind of made that shift 4 or 5 years ago. And it took a little bit of time. It took several years to get to the point where Tyler's now full-time doing worship and online ministry. And so before, it was a side project of some volunteers and myself, and we just had to add to it year after year. And so if you want to produce stuff, you go, wow, that's super cool. I know there were some questions about, hey, man, how did you do the worship and you tied everybody together and did all that? Well, one, it takes dozens and dozens of hours, but it also takes a great amount of investment and somebody who has the time and the ability to do that. And so if you don't invest in it, it's never going to happen. And then just as important as investing in it, you have to empower the person to go out, try stuff, and fail. Like the amount of things that we have done, tried, and said that was epically not good, and that's great. You can learn some great lessons, you can learn some valuable things, but you got to take chances. And this is a perfect time to take some chances. I think there's a lot of people that right now are going to be very gracious and you can do a lot of different things and you can mess up in a lot of different ways and people are just going to go, eh. And so try it, figure out what's going to work for your church, figure out where your people are. Like Tyler was saying, you got to figure out where they are, how you can meet them, and have this online presence that's authentic, that's who you are. um, and what you've done. And I think even just owning the fact that it's really different. The tribe, there in Austin with Christian Ray, did a great job and made this great little intro video that I just put in the notes there or in the chat that just basically says, hey, here's the church. It's at your house. The church was always someplace else. The church has never been about the building. And so take those the things that are going on right now to make it super relevant and just own those things and move it forward. So one of the questions that we get a bunch in this is, should it be a new platform? Should it be a combination of existing platforms? And what's the best way to do it? And I think the thing I've been saying recently is I'm platform agnostic. I don't care what platform you use. I don't think one is more spiritual than another. It's all about connection. And what can you do? What can you do as a church to connect with whoever is on whatever platform that you're using? So we landed on the Church Online platform that I threw in the link and Tyler did as well, that it works really well because it drives interaction. And so somebody made the comment like, hey, you should disable all comments. And I highly disagree with that. You need those comments. Are you going to have bad things that happen in there? Probably every once in a while. This last Sunday, we had 5,000 people watch online during the chat and whatnot. There, Tyler, something
around
close
there,
to that. We had no comments that we had to remove. So I go, that's a pretty decent Sunday. Now, a couple months prior to this, we had somebody who had way too much time on their hands, and they were, kind of messing with us and spamming us. And it's very simple to kind of just remove those things. So it's all about connection, though, and you got to get connected. You have to go through. We ended up landing on using the Church Online platform with Living as One as our streaming provider. So that we can multi-stream. So that means we can go to YouTube, Facebook, and to our Church Online platform all at the same time without a bandwidth issue. We're not trying to send 3 different streams all at once. And so that's what works really well. And then we divide up and have hosts on every one of those channels. So we've got hosts on Church Online. CHOP is the acronym for that. So if I refer to CHOP, and then on YouTube and on Facebook, and we divide them all up, and then they interact and they're asking questions, and it was great on Sunday. Somebody make a comment, I'd private chat them and say, man, how can I pray for you? And so it was amazing being able to pray for some people who were just hurting. It was amazing to pray for some of our medical professionals, and be able to pray together that way was just a great way to connect. So Tyler's going to talk about kind of order of needs here when you're thinking about what platform and what you're going to do. Oh, before we do that, I think one of the important things is if you try to switch platforms and try and do something new because you think something's better, I'd almost encourage you not to, and just stick with what you have and kind of own it. And trying to get people to transition is tough. Or you could go, well, I'm going to make people transition because it's a time where people have to. You could do that too, I guess. We ended up with Zoom having to transition, right? To doing our online midweeks or doing small groups that way because we can't meet in person here in Colorado. So Tyler, why don't you talk a little bit about order of needs?
Yeah. And before I do that, I'm just going to refer to one of the comments here. Michael was asking, living as one, what is that? And simply, living as one is just a company that gives out, well, it doesn't give out. They sell encoders and decoders. You can upload all your stuff into their cloud, and they take care of all of the back end. So you basically send them a product, and they distribute it to all these different places. The benefit of living as one over some of the other companies, some do this, but they send it up in a certain way that gives your stream more reliability. So before a month ago, we were streaming in 720p quality, and we were getting glitches and all this stuff. And then we switched to living as one, and the way they signed it up, now we're streaming 1080, same internet, same everything else, but now we're getting a smooth stream with way better quality. And you can check out their website. It's really it's a really powerful system. But so that's what that is. And so I already kind of touched on the kind of the order of needs and all of that. And I just want to emphasize kind of what I was saying is that it's most important that we help our people love God through this time. And that has to be our first goal, because, what does Jesus say to I think Peter? He says, feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep. And like that's what we have to do. And this is our ability to be able to do that is now that the ability to be able to do that is now in our hands as tech people, or whether you're coming in as a leader, a worship team, a tech crew, whatever your role is. I think this is now in our vein, in our role. So I would focus on connecting your people, reaching them, and then start thinking about how can we reach the lost. To me, that's going to come through your church, your members, creating a buzz. So it's great if you put out this awesome content and it's great quality, but if nobody likes it, if nobody shares it, if nobody watches it, you're not going to get anywhere. It's with your community. So I've really been trying to focus on that and getting my team to do that. So as Hans was saying, that we have hosts in both platforms, but also in our pre-service meetings, in our chat with our staff and our lay leaders, I'm always encouraging them, hey, you got to go share this. You have to go share this post. You have to go invite your friends, tag your friends in this. And it's kind of silly, but at the same time, that's where your traction is going to come. That's where Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, that's where these platforms are going to say, ooh, this post is getting interaction. And so then they share it with more people in your community. So we have to do that. The buzz is just as important as any other of these aspects. So get people to share it, get people to talk about it. If you're live streaming or if you have a premiere, one good way to do this is once the premiere is over, touch a few influential people in your church and go, hey, I want you to host a watch party of this a little later today or throughout the week. Just grab a couple friends, invite them to your watch party, rewatch the service. That's a great way to be able to reach out to people in your community as well. So, and then you can talk about expanding your reach and kind of going from there and creating more. I think, and that's where it becomes perpetual. That's where it becomes exponential, because that's how social media works. It's you create a great product, it goes viral, and then then you get more people coming in. So we have to make sure that our the way that we do things, our processes are solid. We have a solid team of welcoming and greeters and ushers, even in the online presence. So we just have to start thinking differently. We have to start this conversation of like, look, things are going to look differently now, and be able to go from there. So yeah, YouTube, Facebook Live, Premiere, watch parties. So if you have any questions about any of those things I just said, any of the terms, post them in the chat and we'll get to them. But we're going to keep moving here and move towards kind of the challenges with jump starting our online churches there.
Yeah, I mean, there is a huge challenge for medium and small churches, right? One of the questions that somebody just posted is, what do you do with a small church when you only have 3 or 4 people that can host? Do you try and do 4 platforms? I wouldn't. I think don't try to be something you're not, and don't try to figure all of these out all at once. I would pick one that the most of your people are on. And I think Facebook, it typically seems to be one of the easiest for people to figure out. There is some issues there if you don't have a Facebook account, that becomes difficult, right? But Facebook is readily set up to just open it up and make it happen. Now, I just read an article yesterday that Facebook is going to open up mobile viewing of streams where you don't need to log in and you don't have an account. And so, I think that could be a game changer for a lot of churches. But I think I would go be as excellent as you can for where your church is at. Right? Like, you need to be who you are. Don't try to be somebody you're not. You're going to come across really weird and really awkward, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So I just show who you really are. Be super genuine. Build conversations as you're doing this. That's the most important thing in the chat and in whatever platform you're using. You're trying to build these conversations. That live stream should not be the main thing and the only thing you're worried about. Now, for a minister, often that is the thing they're worried about. Like, oh man, we got to get this live stream up and going. And I agree. But what you need to do is go, that's 1 hour out of 168 hours. What are we going to do with the rest of the 167 hours during the week? And so it messes up our mission if we're just focused on that 1 hour. And so don't get sucked into that, and get into Facebook group or make a Facebook group for the church. And there's all kinds of information. If you just Google, Facebook groups for churches, there's all kinds of great content on, do we do a church? Do we do a page? Do we do a group? Do we do a public group or a private group? And I think you need both. You need something that's private, that people can share kind of intimate things that are just members of the church, but then you need an outward facing group that can bring people in and have something there that goes, because you're not just trying to increase your viewers. And ministers absolutely love Facebook Live, because any person who scrolls by that thing for 1 second, so literally 1 or 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3. If they watch that video, they count those as 2 different things, and they count those as viewers. And so you can look at those stats and go, oh my gosh, I had a viral video. Well, it was somebody who scrolled by for 1 to 3 seconds. So that doesn't really do anything for us, because we're not building a conversation. We're not helping make a disciple. So we got to build a conversation. We got to move forward, and you have to figure out how to get community built, not just have viewers. What did you, Christian, you had something to say there?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, I work because of some of the stuff that we do with churches. I get the privilege to hang out with a lot of church leaders, and it's really fascinating, because there's so many insecurities just swirling around. Some of it is budget, some of it is just frustration with previous technology, attempts to, let's say, launch a website and it didn't come together. All of those things are secondary in my mind. One of my favorite scriptures in the New Testament is Paul speaking to the Corinthians, who are actually quite an educated city. And what he says to them in 1 Corinthians 2:1, it says, "When I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and great fear and trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with demonstration of the Spirit's power." And the reason I read this to you is that all of this stuff, the complexities of technology, the newness of it, sort of the cultural unknowns, are really secondary to the power of the Holy Spirit working within you and within your church. And bottom line is, just like what Hans said, don't be what you're not. Rely on the power on the Spirit, and that will come across. It doesn't matter. The Spirit is as powerful communicated through Zoom, Facebook Live, or any other fancy resource. Preach the word, be genuine, love people, whatever. Just pick something, pick your lane, pick your something where you're comfortable with something. We in Tribe, we have this term in Tribe in Austin, the taste of the place. It was sort of planted on the premises of, okay, we're an Austin community, we're a mosaic of people, the cultural sort of essence of us should be this particular thing, and we know exactly what that is. And so our streaming is is very Austin. Is the taste of the place, right? Our pre-recorded stuff, the way we speak, we preach, the way we sing, all of it is the taste of the place. Don't try to be, a mega church. Don't try to be Saddleback or whatever, North Point. Don't try to be Denver. Don't try to be Austin. Try to be you. And whatever platform you use, rely on the power of the Spirit, because that's really, really what it's all about.
Yeah, and ultimately,
that's
we want to be able to grab people. Like, as people are scrolling, referring back to what Hans was saying, like, think about how can you interact on a camera differently than you would in a room like this. You have to interact with your viewers, ask them questions, say, hey, post in the comments now, how has God been moving in your life? Or, grab them in and encourage them, invite them to participate with you in some way. That's something we've been doing in Denver that's been really powerful. And then that gives us content to post throughout the week. Hey kids, draw a picture of this, and then we send it to this email address or this number, and then we can post it, and that creates a great connection to be able to go from there. So I think that's what's Roger asked, what's been most effective in helping people become Christians, and that's really what it is. We can't just do this one time a week. It's about throughout the week. What are you doing the rest of the week? And get your people to follow up with anybody they talk to. Hey, how can I get a virtual time with you this week, and be able to take it to the next level there. So
couple of things that I would add to that, to Roger's question, is that your digital home is your website and sort of the collection of digital assets, right? It's Facebook, Instagram, website. It needs to be able to engage people rather than inform people. So when you go online, you have trying to communicate with, right? And in our philosophy is that, there's 3 buckets of people that you can hit. One is the members, 2 is people looking for a church, and the 3rd bucket is people who are not even looking for a church. And our focus is not on the members. It's not on even people looking for a church. It's on the people who are not even looking for a church. And basically everything, the videos that we have online, the communication, the text, the imagery, is all geared towards somebody who doesn't even know they need God, or basically maybe are acutely aware of their need for God. But we want them to feel there's something there. There's something very specific there that I want to go visit. And if you hit the 3rd bucket, you'll hit the other 2 buckets easily, because when there are people coming to church and engaging with you online and coming physically to church, both the members and the seekers, they're happy about that, because they can feel the power of and the love that basically is in the community. The taste of the place is a powerful thing, and there's a lot of things. Actually, I'll probably post a couple of links. I think I have a separate video that talks about how do you communicate, sort of the wording that you use, the imagery that you can use. How do you communicate the heart of your community to people in the best way?
Yeah, that's really good. I think one of the things too, if you're trying to drive engagement, don't make your posts and make the things on your website super religious. Make it fun. Make it something where people go, what is that? So like I did a Devo, and I made communion bread and gave some thoughts about Jesus being the bread of life. And so I made a blog post on our website for that and said, I put an apron on for this one. And that's all I said. And so people are like, what the heck is that? They want to know what it is. And so it drives engagement, and it helps. And what's really cool is my taxidermist from hunting, this guy, he goes, man, I came to church because I saw your post on there and and joined us for church online this last Sunday. So I go, what a great way. Be creative, have some fun, do something different, and ultimately, do something. Make a step forward at this time. Don't just get stuck in the paralysis of analysis, and if you go through the chat and there's going to be hundreds of ideas and hundreds of different suggestions, I think you're going to need to take something and just move forward with it. And so, we've got some great opportunities. We've got some great things here. All of them are going to take time. All of them are going to take some investment. And if you don't have a website, man, you really do need to get one going here. And Third Drive has those Corona-ready websites ready to go, and they're doing a special rate for ICOC churches, and then giving third world churches a free membership. So explain that a little bit more, Christian, and talk about the giveaway.
Yeah, so basically normally with churches, we do a much more hands-on, full rebrand, video, photo, web, social, all of it together, and we sort of package it and hand it over to a church. And then for this particular thing, what we did is we rolled out templates that are pre-designed for virtual church. So if you're looking for not to just plug in existing things, like to do it yourself, but have someone do it for you, this is a great choice. Roger and Disciples Today offers great templates as well. I think the difference with ours is that they're pre-wired, and also we handhold you and help you plug in your information in it, and it can be launched in as little as a week if you focus really hard. And basically the way we did it for us is we have a sliding scale of pricing for different church sizes. So you get the same exact thing, but it's maybe we all share the pain and the sacrifice, basically. So if you're a very small church, it's very affordable. If you're larger, we ask you to pay a little bit more. And the other thing that we do is that for every website that we sell to a first world church, we want to give away a website for a third world church, and it allows us to be able to afford the ability to do that, right? Because it's time and effort, and there's a whole team working with you, plugging it in and launching it, that sort of thing. So if you want to know more, just go to thirddrive.co/churches, and there's a whole information there. There's videos, there's functionality, all of that stuff. But we're just happy we want to do our part in helping the church go virtual as quickly as possible. So we sort of designed the whole thing around helping you get online in as little as a week, and plugging in all of your resources, and you can turn something on, turn something off if you want to, but it's yours. We hand it over to you, and then you can develop it to a more robust thing over time later. It's also Tidely ready, so it's pre-wired for online giving, which is a really important thing these days. Anything else I missed, Hans, about something? Anything else you want me to highlight in this?
No, I
don't think so. Right? Okay, great. So Hans, can you? Hans has a great resource as well. He helps people do conferences, online conferences for large amounts of people. Hans, can you tell us more about what you can do?
Yeah, so if your church wants to put on a virtual conference, maybe you had a marriage retreat that was set up that you're needing to cancel, we can help get you set up that way, get that rolling. We also do social media content. So if you go, man, we don't have somebody who can just pump out that stuff on a regular basis. So we get a subscription-based plan on there where it'll put out social media on your page, daily content that's kind of prepackaged, and it can be somewhat customized, but it's just a great way to be able to do that. And so we got just a couple minutes here. I'll throw the link in there for my email if anybody's interested, or you can send me a private message on this. But to close out, I want to make sure if you guys, as the tech team or people that are helping, or I know a lot of our ministers, make sure you're practicing some self-care. I had a little bit of a meltdown 2 Sundays ago. I felt like I was working about 20 hours a day. I wasn't sleeping much. I was waking up in the middle of the night, thinking about all these different needs and how do we do this? And things were changing so fast. And shortly after church, my phone just blew up with, hey, this. And then I started thinking about what it was going to take for this next week. And I just had a meltdown. Like I need to put my phone away. I need to go on a prayer walk. I need to have I need to talk with my wife here. And just make sure you're practicing some self-care, as you guys are doing so much and you're meeting such a huge need that needs to be met right now. But if you burn out or fry out, it doesn't do any good. And then the second thing in this is we're called as the church to be salt and light. And I think we need to be spreading hope and joy, and we need to be spreading the hope of Jesus. I think don't just pray that this is going to go away, because we have a greater hope in Jesus. We don't just have this hope of optimism to be relieved of suffering. We have a hope in Jesus to endure through suffering and be drawn closer to God. And I think through this suffering, people are going to be brought to God. And so we need to spread that hope as far and as wide as we possibly can. And so that's where I just love that there's so many people who have a heart to figure this stuff out, to engage in it, and really appreciate St. Rock Media and Truce Media putting this on and putting it all together, and all the sponsors that did this. So we have about 1 minute before we need to wrap up. And so, Tyler, do you want to close us out?
Yeah. I think with that, being able to not overload yourself, I think you and I both are victims of this thinking and lifestyle. But I would say I want to address Roger's question in that, because he said, how important is it to get expertise? Where is it here? Something about expertise, and like, how important is it to get mentorship from somebody who's experienced in this? And I'd say very, very important. Initiate and be able to you have to seek out help. You have to seek out advice and guidance in these things, or else it will go nowhere. And that's where you can kind of call on other people and say, hey, help me out with this, and share your own expertise. So, okay, I think that's the sign that's telling me we have to be done. Things are dinging in my ears.
Oh, yeah. I'm not getting any ding, but we do have another session here coming up at 10:45 on live streaming part 3. And then I know that there's also the networking and whatnot is live. So I don't know if we can stay in here, Tyler, and then answer other questions, or how that works. So we'll kind of turn it over to Brandon and to Kayla.